This story is about to blow your mind. It's a tale of courage, quick thinking, and a little bit of old-school sass that will leave you cheering, laughing, and maybe even tearing up. By the end, you'll be sharing this story with everyone you know. Meet Margaret, a sharp-witted 72-year-old grandmother from a small town in Ohio. Margaret is the kind of woman who bakes pies for her neighbors, volunteers at the local library, and always has a kind word for everyone she meets. But don't let her sweet demeanor fool you. Margaret doesn't tolerate disrespect, especially when it's directed at others. One morning, Margaret was at her local clinic for a routine checkup. The waiting room was packed, as usual, but the line at the registration desk was moving smoothly thanks to Emily, the efficient and kind receptionist. Everyone was patiently waiting their turn until she walked in. A woman in her 40s, dressed in a designer coat and carrying a Louis Vuitton bag, barged straight to the front of the line, shoving people aside. "Excuse me, I just have a quick question," she announced, as if the rules didn't apply to her. Emily, the receptionist, politely pointed to the end of the line. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but you'll need to wait like everyone else." What happened next was jaw-dropping. The woman exploded. "Do you know who I am?" she screamed, slamming her hand on the counter. "I don't have time for this. Give me a complaint form right now." Her voice echoed through the clinic as she hurled insults and curse words at Emily, who stood there stunned, trying to keep her composure. That's when Margaret stepped in. With the calm confidence of someone who's seen it all, Margaret walked up to the woman and said, "Honey, I've been recording this entire scene on my phone. And if you don't stop this nonsense right now, I'll make sure it goes viral. My grandson runs the biggest local Facebook page in town, and trust me, you don't want to be the star of his next post." The woman froze. Her face turned bright red, and for a moment it looked like she might argue. But then, without a word, she grabbed her bag and stormed out of the clinic, her heels clicking furiously against the floor. The waiting room erupted into applause, and Emily mouthed a tearful thank you to Margaret. But here's the twist. Margaret hadn't actually recorded anything. She'd simply bluffed, and it worked perfectly. As she later told her grandson, "Sometimes all you need is a little creativity to shut down a bully." And that's where the story takes an even more heartwarming turn. Margaret's grandson, Jake, is a successful tech entrepreneur who splits his time between New York and their hometown. When he heard about what his grandmother had done, he was so proud that he decided to fly home and surprise her. Jake arrived at Margaret's house with a bouquet of flowers and a big grin. "Grandma," he said, "you're a legend. I'm taking you out to dinner at the fanciest restaurant in town, and I want to hear every detail." Over dinner, Margaret shared the story, and Jake couldn't stop laughing. "You know," he said, "this is exactly why I started my company, to give people the tools to stand up for themselves. You're my hero, Grandma." But the story doesn't end there. A few weeks later, Jake invited Margaret to New York to be a guest on his podcast, where she shared her story with thousands of listeners. The episode went viral, and Margaret became an overnight sensation. People everywhere were inspired by her bravery and quick thinking. Even the woman from the clinic reached out. She sent Margaret a handwritten apology letter admitting she'd been going through a tough time and took it out on the wrong people. Margaret, ever the class act, wrote back with kindness and forgiveness. This story is a reminder that you're never too old to make a difference, and that standing up for what's right doesn't always require a fight. Sometimes, all it takes is a little creativity, a lot of courage, and the willingness to call out injustice when you see it. If this story inspired you, leave a comment and share it with someone who needs a little reminder that kindness and courage can change the world. Because sometimes, all it takes is one brave grandmother to show us how it's done.